Hello, everyone. My name is Danny. This review is for the movie called Little Woods. Ollie is barely getting by in Little Woods, an economically depressed fracking boomtown in North Dakota. She has left her days of illegally running prescription pills over the Canadian border behind, eyeing a potential new job that would finally break her out of the small town. But when her mother dies, she is reunited with her estranged sister Deb, who faces a mounting crisis, the combined effect of an unplanned pregnancy and a deadbeat ex. The two find that they have 1 week to settle the mortgage on their mother's house or face foreclosure. As both bills and pressure mount, Ollie faces a choice whether to return to a way of life she thought she left behind for just one more score or to leave it all behind. This is a 2018 film. It is rated R. It runs an hour and 45 minutes, and it stars the two ladies on the front, Tessa Thompson and Lily James. And it also stars Luke Kirby, James Badge Dale, and Lance Reddick. This is Little Woods. Well, I have never heard of this. I'd be surprised if any of you have. This is a movie that came up in my research that I do every month, and I get movies from my library. And it is, from 2018, so obviously it's been sitting around for a while, and I don't know how many people have actually heard of it. Obviously, Tessa Thompson is a well-known name, and Lily James has done some stuff. So this should be a movie that people do seek out. It is a decent film, and so maybe just give it a look up for that. I'll just start with that. So, as the back cover says, this is about drugs. This is about an unplanned pregnancy and whether to have the baby or not. This is about a small town in North Dakota where everybody knows everybody, especially the drug dealers. And, just a lot of like small town drama and small town, hard to earn enough money to make a living kind of stuff. It has a lot to do with that. So I would say this movie is really real because of what it has to deal with. It might hit home for you. It did for me. Like, just the way that these people suffer just having enough money to do anything, really. And then you start thinking about things like kids and keeping up a home. And, you can't even imagine that when you're making, barely enough to make ends meet, and sometimes you get sent home and sometimes you get sick. And, just one of those days can really ruin your month. So, it's a very vivid movie in that way, and sometimes that's enough to just appreciate. So when we get into this movie, it's slow moving. It's only an hour and 45 minutes. It seems a lot longer than that, just because it kind of drones on. It has a lot of talking scenes, has a lot of scenes where they're just miserable because they are missing out on money and stuff. I mean, it's just a really real movie, and it seems to drag on that way. There are some interesting things that happen, and they all kind of happen at once. So once it gets to the interesting part of the movie, Ollie is dealing with her agent to make sure that she's, on probation and stuff, trying to carry her through that. She is trying to deal with this person to try and get a job somewhere else, to leave this all behind, that part of the story. And she's having to deal with her sister and her drug dealer and stuff like that. There's just a lot going on, and that part of the movie helps it move along a little bit. But everything else is just kind of like, I mean, predictable is to say the least. It's just so obvious what's going to happen. So then it's a little slow moving. I know we just had The Mule come out this last year. That was probably after this, obviously. And everybody loved The Mule. because he was just out driving and stuff, and you know, it had a great actor. And I think this should get some recognition. I mean, it is interesting, and it is um, curious to know what's going to happen to the characters. Obviously, this is the type of movie. I can't really describe what type means, but this is the type of movie that just has a feel to it that you can tell it's maybe not a blockbuster. It's not meant for the theater, and the ending very much leaves everything, you know, open to opinion. What happens to the characters? It's just one of those movies, and sometimes I get tired of these kind of movies. You know, like I just want some conclusion at the end. I want the storyline to wrap up. And people just feel like ending their movies whenever they feel like it, and it really gets annoying after a while. But this one at least has one thing kind of wrap up, so you know what's going to happen with one character, but you don't know what the ripple effects of that decision are going to make in the future for the other characters. You know, I mean, you just don't know how they're going to have any money and stuff like that. I mean, it's completely open to interpretation. And sometimes people are really artistic and they like that, so that there can be discussion, you know, and everything. But really, it just kind of annoys me, you know, when you leave an ending like that. So as good as Tessa Thompson is, and she really does make this movie really interesting. She has some really good lines. There's good conversation between characters. Um, the rest of the cast really is, you know, befitting to their roles, and I think that everybody, you know, kind of bounces off of each other well. If people have to act like they're drunk or act like they're on drugs, you kind of get that feeling from them that they're a little crazy. There are some really strange characters towards the end that have to deal with maybe procuring an ID for one of our characters, and it just is like those guys are just crazy. You get the creepy factor out of them. So, yeah, altogether, I kind of enjoyed myself because there's so much going on. I just wish they would have handled it better. Wish they would have handled the ending better. And just keep it moving a little bit. Maybe add a little bit more, you know, comedy or, you know, more interesting things. Have people carry through with some of the threatening scenes that we have. You know, it kind of gets anticlimactic on a couple things because you think you know what's going to happen and it doesn't go all the way through with it. So it's just one of those movies. It's just kind of one to watch. It's interesting enough. So I'm going to give Little Woods a C plus. I think it's really close to the B range. It just, you know, it just needs a little bit more, I think. So a C plus for Little Woods. Thanks a lot, guys. My name's Danny. If you like this or any of my other videos, try and get some of them watched. Like and subscribe to my channel if you would. Enjoy your movies. Thanks.